Okay. Hi everyone. Good afternoon. It's nice to see such a big crowd even during lunchtime. I hope some of you had lunch so you can enjoy more. So I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence for intelligent agriculture today. So, how many of you have worked in life sciences or agriculture or anything like biotechnology? Okay, quite a few I see. So good. So I think, and so that means this will be good for others to know more about agriculture and also how we can apply AI in agriculture. So let me start with one simple question. So what is the world's population today? Anyone knows the number? 7 billion. Okay, so yeah, it's around 7.7 billion. And what do you think by 2050, what will be the world's population? 9, 10, anything here from here? So it will be around 9.7 billion population according to data. So that means in the next 30 years, we are going to add 2 billion people in the world. So where will you get food for these 2 billion extra people? And then, as you know, that land is all continuously going down, and then not many people are interested in agriculture. You know, we all want to become engineer and doctor. And you might remember some of the WhatsApp forwards where people ask about what is the most important profession, and then they'll tell about it's not engineering, it's not doctor, it's a farmer, because every day you need food, and then every day you need basically farmer. So how we are going to use AI or to do some kind of modern agriculture or intelligent agriculture, because without that it won't be possible to feed this extra 2 billion population. So I'll talk about some of those things. Let's, where is that? Okay, so I'll start with the digital revolution. So if you look at technology, so technology revolutionizes world in multiple ways. And according to McKinsey data 2017 report, it says that every 20 years you will see some kind of technology revolution, and that will change the whole economy in the world. So if you look at 1970s to 80s, we had integrated circuits. So when we came up with like mini circuits, like miniature types processors or memories, etc. So that changed the whole world. That made competition so fast. And then if you look at 90s to 2000s, internet came, and then all the digital processes started connecting. So whether it's intranet or internet, and then the modern globalization happened. And after like 2010, then we had more cheap and ubiquitous sensors. So one of the things which happened with the sensors is that they generate a lot of data. So they generate seconds, every second some data, millisecond per data. So this huge data to analyze, and then that gave challenge to us that how to analyze the data, so implement new algorithms or implement new systems, implement new methods to analyze this data. And then the same thing applies to agriculture, so how we can use these sensors and data in agriculture, how it can improve the agriculture, we'll be looking at in the next few slides. So data drives the modern world. We all know that data is driving everything in the world, including multiple industries. There is no industry in the world which is not driven by data. So of course agriculture is also one of them. And so whatever we do, let's say most of the things in agriculture, let's say digital farming tool, or predicting some product outcome, or looking at the diseases, predicting diseases, or drones, and like in looking at the different type of insecticides, insects, etc. Everything is driven by data. So if you look at, if you talk about farmers, so whenever if I ask people that what is the, what do you imagine when you look at farmer? So you will always think about a farmer as with some dhoti, panche, kurta and all that. You will not look farmer with tab and computers or laptops in some kind of autonomous tractor. But then today, at least in advanced countries, farmers are using these new technologies, advanced technologies, and they're using those technologies to advance some decisions or planning and all that. And a lot of people may not know that agriculture has always relied on data. You might not know it. It may be in some different forms, but it has always relied on data. And then if we apply data science, it makes it better. So whatever techniques we do in agriculture, it will make it better. So some of these slides I think you had gone through since morning multiple times. So I'll skip some of these things. Let's say data science application in AI, in agriculture, let's say you want to launch a new product, or you want to build a new product, seed, where crop science is a seed company. So if you want to breed a new seed variety, you need data science for that. Okay, similarly for deep learning, let's say deep learning, you have some infestation in the field. You want to have satellite images from the top, and then you want to look at what kind of infestation is there. So in US, India, it's not that common that India, most of the farmers will have 1 acre, 2 acre type of fields. Very few advanced farmers in South will have more than that. But then in US, for example, a normal farmer will have 100 to 500 acre field. There it's not possible to do everything manually. So how will you do that? So mostly you will have those drones, for example, capturing pictures or some satellite images and then figuring out what kind of infestation has happened in the field. And then, so this is one kind of like predicting which disease is there, but then also some kind of prescriptive model that what kind of, let's say, some chemical you can spray there through drones itself. So those things are happening. We are doing, a lot of advanced farmers are doing already there. Okay, and then also let's say autonomous tractors. So that also uses a lot of deep learning techniques to go to the field and harvest everything. Okay. And then to build some advanced agriculture systems, you need some blockchain. So for example, tracking our products where they are in the system, or tracking the transactions happening in the system, that can be done through blockchain. So at Bayer Crop Science, we work on multiple things. Some of those things are like, one is that improving the farmer experience through data analytics. So build digital farming tools so that the farmer experience is good, and then provide some decisions so that they can take a call what to do next. Sorry. So as I was telling earlier, that farmers have always mined data. So it could be in handwritten ledger, or it could be something else. So many years ago, people used to write, have like on the paper in some ledgers, and then take notes, and go through those notes later and figure out when I planted the seed, what time I watered, what fertilizer I used. All those information was written in ledger. But then, it's a cumbersome process, and then tracking and everything is very difficult. Slowly they moved to spreadsheets, and then they started doing capturing data in the spreadsheet. But then problem was data analysis. So when you capture data in like a spreadsheet, so data analysis was not that easy. But then now we have in-field devices. Multiple, you have tab, you can look at field, you can do in-field any kind of application of, like, let's say, chemical, and then you can see on tab what is happening in the field, if there is any infestation happening. So you might not think like the farmer, they face 40 plus decisions each growing season for a crop. So some of these key decisions are done at planning level, planting level, and then also protecting level or harvesting level. So for example, planning level, what seed variety I should plant here. So that also has to be taken a decision for, and then how much fertilizer to use. Okay, and then a lot of other things like, say, soil variety, soil moisture, and soil nutrient content. Everything has to be known. Accordingly, you will plant your seeds. So I normally ask to students when they present that, let's say you take one seed and you put it in Andhra or Karnataka or Tamil Nadu, will it give the same yield? It will not, because the conditions, soil conditions are different, temperature is different, a lot of other external factors are different. So this kind of planning has to be done by a farmer all the time. Similarly, during planting, he has to think how much distance he has to have between two seeds, and then other, like, let's say, some kind of bacterial or fungal, if there is some infestation there. Then crop protection. So for example, a lot of insects are there, and then they damage crop a lot. So for example, nematodes, they damage around $80 billion per year of crops. So this is a big damage. So ultimate objective is to increase the yield. So you can get better seeds to increase the yield. But then other thing is that if you have some kind of crop protection, so if you can have some kind of disease protection, so then you will have more yield, accordingly. Similarly, at harvesting level, when to harvest, that decision also has to be taken. And then, if you have a big field, like how to plan that harvesting, that also farmers take decision. So most importantly, that digital tools which are powered by data analysis, they allow farmers to optimize resources. So you can decide when to do what, and then let's say if tomorrow it is going to rain, I don't need to water the plants there. So those kind of decisions help the farmer to make advanced decisions, and then makes more operationally efficient things. Okay, so even AI can improve insights for many type of farms. So it's not just small farm, big farm. These digital tools can have information about all the farms, and then different things, let's say seed selection, and then advanced seed descripting, where to put seeds, and then soil health. Like in the beginning itself, what soil nutrients are there. If there is more nitrogen, so you're not going to put some fertilizer which has more nitrogen or phosphorus. So you can have a soil analysis. So there is like government website you can go through, which gives soil parameters for whole India. So at farmer level, so that is there, and then some kind of field data collection and analysis. So you can collect how much you had harvested there, and then you can analyze for next year. So for example, in where we have for corn, we have more than 15 plus year data. We know this seed, how it is going to perform next year. That kind of data we have, because we have analyzed 15 years data and we have built models, and then we can predict how each seed is going to perform in the next 1 year. And you can also do harvest analysis after harvest. Okay, so sorry. So these digital farming tools, they give farmers a deeper understanding of their fields. So for example, you can collect and analyze field data. They can do it farming at the field zone level. Different zone will perform differently because the different soil parameters. So if you have 500 acre field, it will have different parameters at like after every 100 acres. So I don't know how many of you used any kind of exercise app like Samsung Health and all that. You'll see, if you look at, there is one elevation parameter. So even within 3 to 4 kilometers, elevation changes a lot. So how to put water properly and all that. So those kind of things, like different zones level data you can collect. Also, you can maximize yield potentials through these digital farming tools. So one of the things which these informed decision through digital farming tools do is that they optimize your investment, so there will be less losses. So I mean, farmers have to go through a lot of losses because of the either wrong planning or wrong planting, and then so these things will be saving you a lot of resources, investment, and then also natural resources. So let's say you are having a paddy field, and you know how much water to put, so then you are saving a lot of waters. And agriculture requires a lot of water, and that to clean water. So it's not that you can use some dirty water. So it requires clean water. So if you know properly how much water to put, how much at what time, at the right time, as I was saying like earlier, like if it's going to rain tomorrow, you don't need to put water today. So that those kind of planning, if it is there, then you can save a lot of natural resources. Also protecting, this is one thing, I mean, I will be talking a lot because that if you have satellite images or some drone images that captures that where the infestation has happened, then you can take care of that. That infestation spreads rapidly. So if one corner of your field is infested, then it might damage the whole field. So you have to take a control of that as soon as possible. So those things you can do. And similarly, harvesting time, that if you have 100-acre field, then you can connect in real time using digital farming tools and then take decision accordingly. So one thing, I think deep learning, one of the use cases, best use cases in agriculture is that you can analyze those images to find out if there is any pathogenic attack or not. So there are multiple factors which will that make plants vulnerable to diseases. So it could be environmental, it could be genetic level. So I'll not talk in detail, but it could be pathogen also, like bacterial or viral or some insects, etc. So if you look at the right side, there are multiple corn leaves infested with different type of diseases. So you can take the image. We have more than like 50,000 image data sets and then build deep learning model built, which can figure out what disease it is, and then accordingly it can suggest what action to take. So, and it requires a lot of data. I mean, you must have heard since morning that about models and etc. But then our team, especially, we spend a lot of time in cleaning data, basically labeling data, and then making sure that it goes properly in the model, and then build some of these models. And we need a lot of data. So, I mean, ours is the agriculture company, Bayer Crop Science division. So we have data for many years, more than like 15, 20 years data for each crop, and then which we can analyze, and then also we will have data for like each field level, what temperature is there, and soil parameters, etc., and then how it has been behaving in the last few years. So if you look at this, our data is very, very complex. So, and I can assure you that if you have not worked on any challenging problem, come to agriculture or even in biotechnology, you will find something like, let's say, you will be working with terabytes of data, and you will be mesmerized to see so much data. For example, a simple example is any genomic data. So human genome is 3 GB. Some of you may be knowing, and then corn data is 2 GB, around 2 GB. So one of the flowers, for example, Japanese flower, the Paris japonica, is 149 GB, one genome. So let's say if you are studying 1,000 genomes, if you want to do some comparative analysis, imagine 149 terabyte of data. How will you do it? So similarly, like for example, just last week I was working with 4 terabyte of data to search for certain sequences. So this is the complexity we have. And then, of course, when we talk about big data, we talk about the variety of data. So we have a lot of varieties, starting from either chromosome level data, then you have genetic markers, then you have gene level data, then also weather location level data. So for example, we have more than 70 plus location, we have our seeds. So that location data you have, then geospatial data from different sensors, IoT data. So all this data, soil parameters I was talking about, so this data becomes too complex to handle, and then you need more different algorithms, understanding of the data, and that's why we need a lot of domain expertise in our work. So these are some of the ways we improve the farmer experience, but then also to improve the farmer experience, we have to do in-house R&D to make sure that we can give best product to the farmers. So some of the ways are like, some of the ways this AI accelerates that. So our internal R&D pipelines, we can have better pipelines. So instead of testing something, first you will be testing in the lab. So let's say thousands of things we are testing in the lab, then it will go to the greenhouse, then it will go to the field. So any lab testing, if you have, it's a big cost. So if you have to test a lot of things in the lab, going to the field, the cost will keep accumulating. So how to reduce that experiments in the field? So that AI helps us doing that. So we'll make sure that we'll do a lot of testing or field testing in the lab, and then if you have to test multiple combinations, we'll reduce the number of combinations so that in the field we have to test less. And then we know what kind of outcome it may have, so that we are sure that we'll be having success. So some of these data insights that they provide or they drive better products for farmers. So if you look at that predictive analytics, so I was telling about how to have what kind of yield you are going to have in the field based on different parameters. So that kind of testing we do like, and you can assess multiple conditions, including location, soil, weather, everything. So you can assess multiple conditions. You can do smart data analysis, and then you can go for field testing. So smart field testing. And if you collect field testing data for multiple years, you can know a lot about that crop, a lot about the region, and a lot about other factors. So like we will have seed varieties for, let's say in Karnataka, in a particular region. We know which seed is going to work in this particular region, or in which weather conditions, or which soil conditions. And we can also supplement other information. So if you know that this particular region has more nitrogen, so you have to, we can, like, let's say, suggest what kind of fertilizers to be used. So all this is done through data. And one of the most important things, plant breeding. So you want to have better seeds, and that is done through plant breeding. So if you have improved modeling analytics, you can get better seeds through plant breeding. So you will have multiple combinations. You have to breed 2 plants, for example, to get certain traits. And then there will be millions of combinations. How to choose certain combinations which are going to work for us? So choosing from millions of combinations to certain number of combinations, so that we test in the field, and so that we get seeds, and then we can sell in the market. That is all done through AI. So we will have all the combinations. So let's say we will put machine learning algorithms, and then we have seen in the past that our machine learning algorithms, they have given us more than 5x corn varieties, and we have saved a year of research using machine learning. There are other smart field testing, then also seed logistics. So we have, let's say, more than 32,000 customer locations, and then more than 30,000 products, and in more than 70 plus locations. How will you do this seed logistics properly? So that also helps. Let's say, I think I have some slides. This next one, I'll show. Yeah, supply chain logistics. So this may be very interesting. So a lot of people ask me that how this supply chain is different than what we do in, let's say, in Flipkart or Amazon. So in case of e-commerce website, let's say you send some packet from one location to another location. If it reaches, instead of 3 days, it reaches 6 days, does not matter. The product is same. And then second thing is you can give feedback straight away that, yeah, product is good. But in case of agriculture, it's a bit different. You send seed from one location to another location, and if it delays, it might start germinating. So you have to make sure that it reaches on time, properly, whatever time frame it is. Second thing is, you send to your grower, he cannot give feedback straight away. It will take another 4 to 6 months to give feedback. Will be using those seeds, planting the seeds, and then see the yield. Then only after 4 to 6 months he can give you feedback that how the seed was. So we have our own transportation management systems which have some blockchain-based system which can track where the product is, which location it is, and what corrective action to be taken. And then we have millions of savings per year using that. There's another thing, like we all know that, for example, tomato. Tomato for sambar is different than tomato for salad. So how to have that correct flavor, how to predict that correct flavor. So that also is done through some kind of modeling. Okay, so we have more than 125 new variety introduction for across 20 produced crops. So we are one of the biggest company in India for vegetable seeds too. So how to get those, let's say, pepper. So you want some kind of pungency. So, and let's say you have some pepper, if you keep it in some warehouse for 2-3 months, the pungency will go down. So how to make sure that pungency is still remains same, and then farmer will be selling at a certain point where the price is very high. How to make sure that the price is high at the same time pungency is also high. So all those things can be done through modeling, making sure that pungency is still not that bad, and then price is also good. And then, of course, breeding these varieties for the best flavors, that also can be done through machine learning. I'll skip blockchain, but then it's like improved product traceability and other things we can do through blockchain. I'll go to data quality. So it's the foundation for any AI innovation. I think you would have heard all the speakers talking about data quality. We also work with more with data accessibility to make sure that whatever data you work with, if it is from farmers, is accessible to the third-party vendors so that they can use it, study it, and make sure that it's a little bit transparent. And data stewardship, we have multiple teams for data stewardship in every function, either biotech, breeding, IT, or whatever. So make sure the data is correct, all the labels are correct, there are no missing values. And then data privacy and security. So when we work with farmers, we make sure that a farmer has access to all the data. So, and we'll have policies or agreement with the farmer that he has all the rights with data, so not with us. So, and then also, if you want to delete the data, we can do that, no problem. So, yeah. So this last but one slide. So AI helps agriculture protect natural resources. So water, for example, I was telling you, if you can predict how much water is required, and so then you will not be putting more water. You can save water resources, land, and etc. So we want to have better yield, more yield in less amount of land. And then also, so let's say for autonomous tractors, if you have more tractors, then you will have more pollution. So this way, if you know, targeted harvesting, etc., so then we can have less CO2 emissions. So we can also save this natural resources. AI is another example of modern agriculture. So including unlocking the science of nature to develop environmentally sustainable product for the farmers. And you can read more about innovation part in the given link. Thank you. Some questions?
Pushker, can you highlight any of the India implementations and what are the challenges you faced?
So
I know Bayer is doing a lot of wonderful things for global customers. Deal for India. Have you done anything? India. Use cases and the challenges you faced, particularly reference to India general.
So India, I think the best example is BT cotton. So that BT technology is from Monsanto, and then that's the one example of like having one insecticidal protein which will prevent cotton from some insects. So, and if you look at the history, like more than 20 years ago, before this BT cotton was introduced in India, the India was nowhere in cotton export, but today is like number two in the world. So in the last 15 to 20 years, cotton produce has increased a lot. Through that technology. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question here. So all the phases what you explained, planning, planting, protection and harvesting, these are all the farmers' zone. They are experts and they also get a lot of local expertise and who have field experience and they can help. One of the biggest challenges farmers are facing in India is the price protection. How is there any effort from the AI side to help them, plan that part well so that you can do time to market and all these kind of things, activities?
Yeah, I mean, if you have digital platforms, so that there's like biggest problem with the price thing is that those mediators or dealers or distributors. So if you can remove that mediators, then a lot of things will be solved automatically. So then we need more digital platforms. So there are a lot of things done by government. So like say, for example, all the commodity prices will be online. So if there was some direct connection between the consumer and the farmer, I think a lot of these problems. Yeah, so that. Yeah, so I mean, this one could be prediction of the prices. If you know that the price is going to down, so then you can take corrective measurement for that. Not to store for a long time and sell it now, let's say. Yeah.
Hi, Sachin. Thank you for the talk. It was really nice. My question is, one can learn the tools, one can learn the technologies, but without having enough domain knowledge, how do we apply any machine learning algorithm in this field? So, and this domain is very complicated. It's not very easy to understand life science within a few days, right? As a consulting firm or as an individual person, how do I tap into this business? How difficult it will be for me?
Yeah, so it's a very good question because I was telling about domain expertise multiple times in our company, like in, let's say, my group, for example, we have a lot of PhDs and postdocs, and there are people who have been working in that field for 15 to 20 years because domain expertise is very, very important. And even this, like I was talking about genomics, a small change from A to T, let's say in human can make it cancer or non-cancer. Similarly for plant, this can do. So domain expertise is very, very important. So sometimes, like for example, I have no biology background. I'm engineer, electrical engineer. So over the period of many years, then I've learned this slowly. Okay, so one way is either you come with that foundation or you acquire that knowledge working through this field. So it's not that if you don't have any biological knowledge, these companies will not hire you. We have a lot of software engineers in my team also, like data engineer, data scientists, who have no knowledge about agriculture or biotechnology at all. Slowly over the time, ultimately it's data. Okay, ultimately it's data, and then when you're doing modeling, you need to know first, like it's correct. For example, it's numerical or categorical. That's the most important understanding.
Correct,
you will start from there. Slowly you will try to understand the biology behind it. So it's not that difficult.